Hey, one more little video, I guess, for tonight. I was actually going to go to bed, but I'm waiting on some laundry to get done, so I have a little bit of time. So I thought, just to play around with, I would do a little bit on AI, because it's just one of those things that seems to always be questions on AI once in a while, right? So here is a elephant. And it's supposed to be an elephant. Doesn't look like much of an elephant, does it? Yeah, that's pretty weird. Alright, well, here, let's do this. Let's bring in this guy. And bring in there we go. Now we have an elephant. So what if this was an AI? Some animal in your game, and you wanted him to do stuff. So first thing you would want to do, obviously, is create an animator controller for him. Here's my elephant. So here, don't need root motion. You can use root motion, especially with these particular guys here. They are lots of animations, and they support root motion. Right, so, but in the case of this, I'm not going to bother using root motion. It's a little more complex. But what we will do is, I tend to like to do an FSM just on movement for AI, and I get agent velocity. And every frame, and I get the magnitude. And I guess we need to go into the animator. So with AI, let's do a blend tree. So we'll need a parameter. We'll call it speed. Let's make sure we go into the blend tree. And he's using speed. So let's give him some stuff. So we'll have, say, the elephant running, going pretty fast, walking, and idle. Alright, so let's just drag and drop some of these in. We have a walk, the idle, we should have, there's a run, we should have a trot. Usually he has a trot and a gallop and stuff. Maybe not with the elephant. Alright, okay, so we don't have that. Alright, whatever. Not a big deal. So if we increase speed, we get up to that. Fair enough. So I'm just going to take the agent velocity and I am going to set a float. I don't know why my PlayMaker is doing that. Speed, and we're going to set in magnitude every frame, and I like to throw in damp times. In some cases, depending how you have it, sometimes I like to do things like this, where I compare the magnitude, and if we are, say, below, 0.15. If we're less, let's just do a full out stop. And then I'm going to copy this, paste it there. And over here, it'll be if it's greater, we're going to go again. Get rid of that one. So I wouldn't get the velocity anymore. I would set 0 and call it good. And that's it for the movement. He's done. So then I would typically have one for behavior. And so sometimes I'll branch this one into sub ones, depending on how complex I want my AI. But let's say we want some sort of wandering. So there's a few different ways you could do wander. And I'm going to get position. That's just so weird. So this is our current position. And then I am going to float. Let's do 2 randoms. Let's go, I don't know, negative 10, 10. Call that X. Negative 10, 10. Call that Z. And vector 3 add. Move that to the bottom. Our current position, we're going to add X, and we're going to add Z. And then agent. Now, if you want this to be a very heavier, more sturdy system, you're also going to want sample position. And this will ensure that you end up on the nav mesh. 10 is fine. So we're going to store that into set position. All right, now that we have that, I'm going to finish because it's a slower action. It's a heavier action. I'm going to keep it in its own FSM. Then we're going to call set destination to the set position. Then after that, I want to make sure that's also done. We are going to get position again, and we can put it into our current position, but every frame, and we're going to vector 3 operator our current position to the set position. We want a distance. You could also just use the distance action, and we're going to get a new variable called distance and float compare. So if distance is, say, I don't know, we'll say less than 3.5. If we're less than that, get new. Right, and make sure that's every frame. So this is kind of our finding our spot we want to go. Now we might want let's see, what do we have? We have drinking, idle 2, That'll work. Dig. I guess that was 2 of them in there. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go from any state and then back to the blend tree. And we're going to call a parameter. I'm just going to call this idle. It's going to be a trigger. So when we get that, we're going to go here. And the transition duration's fine for something like this. So in our behavior, just to add a little bit of randomness, what we're going to do is send a random event. And I'm going to use, now we'll say idle and get position. I don't know why I made those global. So here's idle and we have get position. So if we want to get position, we're going to go up here. And yeah, that's fine. I'll just drag it. But if we're going to idle, let's instead, let's just wait, just briefly, you know, just to make sure our guy is stopped, you know, without forcing him to stop. So we're just going to do a small wait, and then we're just going to set animator trigger idle, and then maybe we'll do another wait, or you can run it on animation events, and you know, maybe we'll wait 2.5 seconds, and then we'll go up here. All right, so we only have 2 events in our situation. So we have idle and get position. Maybe he's only going to idle some of the time. Okay. So now we have that. All right, so we have to save our scene. AI stuff. So we bake. All right. So now, if we hit play, we should have our little elephant apparently not getting the velocity properly and going pretty rampant. So let's go into this guy here, and let's set the speed down to 1. I'm going to crank up the turning quite high and the acceleration and give him a little bit of a stopping distance. That'll make sure he can turn a little better. So now I'm going to extend these out just to make sure it's not too rampant. And oh yeah, that's right. So we got to get velocity. We still need it in this one because we're measuring it, right? So now we should have got our elephant. He's just kind of walking around now. Dum da dum da dum. You know, if we go over to his behavior, oh, so he wants to do his dig. The wait isn't long enough. Let's up that. probably up this one a bit too. Alright, now let's make sure, let's test this idle. Let's give it a higher chance. Bring the other one down. There we go. So let's get out of there. Let's take this one up. This one way up. Take this guy up a little farther. And I should almost move so the nav mesh agent's closer to his middle, so he's not pivoting right there. But I'm not going to worry about that right now, I don't think. So here we have this guy. The other thing I want to do is at the start of here is set agent maximum speed right at the top. So if we go into this wandering phase, we want to be walking. Now, what happens, let's say we have a bool and it's called see enemy, right? So what we'll do is in here, bool test see enemy every frame, and if this is true, we're going to run away. Okay, so and then I'm also going to stick that copy into this guy, and because of that, we would want this one to end quickly. So I'm going to make another transition here. So there's two of them, right? So they both go to the same place, but I'm gonna call this one cancel. So on this transition, we're gonna have an exit time, and it's gonna be cancel. You can have just a little bit of a transition, right? So there's two ways for him to go out now. So if we're in here, we're playing our animation, and we do see an enemy, we want to more or less cancel this animation, which will force it to go to the walk right away, or the run. Then down here, I'm going to put this up. Only I'm going to float interpolate. And we're going to go from, you know what, let's get speed. So this is our current speed. And let's interpolate from our current speed, to 5 over, we'll say elephants are slow, so we'll go 3. And then we're going to put that into current speed. No, I'm going to put that into a new one called new speed. And we will set this. Ooh, I don't know if this does it by every frame though. Let's take a quick look. No, this doesn't have every frame. So normally I would modify that, but I'm not going to do that for this tutorial. So okay, I'm just gonna put this as a 5 then. I'm not going to do the interpolation since I would need to do it every frame, and to do it every frame I need to modify that action, and I don't want to do that to you guys right now. All right, so now we're going to be into our running. So the other thing we now need, that we're into our flee state, is we have get position. Need 2 of those. One is we need something that we're going to flee from. So we're going to have a target. And this is our target position, even though he's running away from it. We need that every frame. We're going to get our position, which we can store into our current position. And then we're going to need a vector 3 operator. Move him down to the bottom. And we're going to take our position and the target position, and the order of which these go in is very important. One goes towards the enemy, one goes away. We're going to end up with a vector 3. It's going to be a direction, and we're going to do that every frame. I am going to normalize this vector so I can control the distance. Direction, normalize. Now I'm going to vector 3 multiply this normalized vector, and we'll say by 30. And then vector 3 operator, there's a fair bit into this. Let's go put this guy right at the bottom. And of course the order of these is very important. We're going to take direction and our current position, we're going to add them, and this is going to be a new set position. And then we are going to agent set destination, to which doesn't happen every frame. Let's just see if we can have something a little better than that. Because normally you typically don't. No, we have move to. That might work. Typically, you don't tell an agent to constantly, more or less, find a path and move to it. It's a little heavier on performance. So, which is why you get actions like this that only call it once, because that's kind of the norm. But in our case, because we were running from an object and both things are moving, we're going to need where did that go? There we go, move to, right at the top. So I'm going to just quickly check this one to make sure it is up or on every frame. So we have reset, on enter, on action update, and on. I've never seen this one before, but I'm guessing that's kind of like the every frame. On action update. No, maybe it's not. Maybe. We'll take a look. I mean, if push come to shove, I guess we will. Oh, we don't want to move to the target. We want to move to our set position. Oh yeah, there's every frame right there. We can have it checked. This doesn't need a finished. So then, what do we need? Right at the bottom is it's safe. And if it's safe, let's go back up there. All right, so now we have that. Now nothing's going to trigger that because we would need another FSM for sensory or sight. And there's numerous ways to do this one. I am going to do a overlap sphere. Right, so we're going to say do a radius of say 20. All right, so we have maybe a little bigger. Let's go 30. And we need an array, so our scene objects, and we can define layers. So for example, we'll put it on the player layer. Don't need that on anymore. And then I'm going to do a next frame because I believe that one only happens once. I don't think it's an every frame thing, that one. I could be wrong about that. So then we're going to array length. So this guy is our scene objects. How many things have we seen? Int compare, and more or less if we see anything greater than 0, let's run. And if it's less, let's do a special wait. Right, and then we'll do an actual wait. 1 second's probably fine. And repeat the process. But if we're going to run, then what do we need to do? We need to set FSM bool. Right? We need to set in our behavior that we've seen an enemy. We also need to give it a target, right? So we might want to, well, we can just get, get index 0 of our scene objects. Store that as a target. Set FSM game object. In behavior, target to target. And then finish. Now, instead of running this, you know what, let's try it. Let's see what happens. So let's now take a player. Obviously we're going to stick him on the player layer. Let's see how this looks. So the elephant is just kind of doing his thing. He's wandering around. You know, we come within range, and we should oh, we never did an equal event. If it's equal, do the weight. All right, there we go. So we come over here and he's like, oh my God, I need to get out of here. So he's now running away, right? And he's literally like, he wants to go in the exact opposite direction. You can always add a little bit of an offset to it, but, and if we come over here, the little elephant guy, I don't think we ever did swap it right back, is, which we should probably do that. Okay, so if we're over here, if we get to weight, we should probably set in here, see enemy false. Right, so now we come in, he's like, oh my God, I gotta get out of here. But if we leave the radius, he's gonna run his distance first. So that's false, or no, that's true. Okay, so overlap sphere. So it's not clearing. All right, so we need to reset this array if it comes back into here. And we're just going to go array resize scene objects to 0. So he runs, we leave, he goes back to wandering. We come in close, he runs, everything works, he gets to a certain point, and he goes back wandering. So now we have this little bit of a behavior, right? The other thing that we could add is if this thing has health, right? So you might have an event, you know, for damage. And when this thing fires, you're going to want him to go to this state, more or less, if he gets damaged. Or maybe he's going to attack. So there's a few ways to do that. Is we could increase the range on the sight. We could give this thing a global event to go right to it, but then we'll have to give it a target. Or this thing can get event info, which was sent by some target we could now we would have to have probably another bool, I think, would be the safest bet. Got hurt. So now we have bool test. So we could just run another bool test. You could also do the bool multi-condition test. Right, so got hurt. Copy condition. This will be the same thing. Put it over here. Now in here though, we probably would need to do bool all true. No, we don't want all true. We want all false or the multi-condition. The multi-condition, I think some people have trouble finding it, so I will use I don't see it. Multi-condition. Oh, I've already got it in here. Okay. So instead of the, it's safe, we can do bool multi. And we have two conditions now. We have got hurt. We have see enemy. So these would both have to be false. So condition false, condition false, every frame. And if this passes, it's safe. If it doesn't pass, if either of those are now true, then it won't pass. All right, because now let's just do something real quick here. Let's just get button down. Yeah, the mouse is fine. Do a finish, and let's send event. And I'm just going to target this elephant to its health to damage. And finish. Now, the other thing you would want is on this guy is you get hit. So set FSM bool and set FSM game object. We need those. So in behavior, we're going to set target to our target. In behavior, we're going to set got hurt to true. And then we're going to do a wait. And maybe 8 seconds. And then we're going to have to flip this back. Now you'd imagine it, if he gets hit a few times, it's just going to keep redoing that thing. So here now we have the elephant, and if I click, obviously nothing happened. Oh. All right, let's get mouse button down then. So if I click, he's just going to start running. And he'll keep running for that 8 seconds, right? And then he stops. I click again, he starts running, and he's running away from my capsule because he thinks my capsule has damaged him. Right, he's going to keep going for those 8 seconds. All right, now if I come in closer, he's also going to run. So he has those 2 conditions now, whether I click or he sees. And then, of course, now you could also have, if he's aggressive, to change this so that when we see an enemy, you know, we're not running away. You have it so you run towards and start attacking, for example. But I figured a runaway basic animal, pretty good for a little AI. If you want to do footsteps, I typically like to run another FSM. We'll just call it sounds. And let's go to the walk. Actually, let's go to the run. And it's not going to let me do anything there until I oh yeah, geez, what am I doing? Not supposed to do that anyways. Okay, so where's the run? So we're on run. Go to the animation, go to the events. This is just one way to do it. And I like to watch 1 foot at a time. And I'm just going to put a simple event. So let's watch the front right. Every time it hits that ground, the impact, right there, right? Send event step. Alright, so let's start over again. Let's watch the front left. And right about there. Alright, so again, send event. You could also break these events up and say like left, right, or left foot, right foot kind of idea. If you want to play particles right bang on. So let's do the back right. Right there. Send event. Step. Okay, the back left. Right there. All right, now we have, that'd be it. So now, if this guy has a audio source, and over here we get an event that we just made in the animator called step. We can, oops, audio play. I don't know if I have any good heavy steps though. I think these steps here are fine. So just use that one. And there we have that. So let's take this guy because he's got the actually let's make sure, let's just put him on, because you can make him 3D or 2D, right? So he's got 3D sound, linear, you know, 25 range for sound, or you can go 2D, right? If I go 2D, I can hear it no matter where I'm at. So we didn't, oh, we did put some in his walk, did we? I don't think we did. It's probably blending in there anyways. right? So that's that. Now if I put this back to 3D, we're not going to hear nothing, right? And that's because the listener is over here. So if I take that off, let's put it here so we don't scare the elephant away. Add audio listener. So now we have a 3D sound. And we got to scare the elephant. Right, so you can do footsteps that way. Now, blend trees will blend them. So if you put footsteps on the walk and the run, because you're blending two animations, you'll end up getting like crazy double sounds. And the easiest way to deal with that I'm just going to use a timeout, something like that. And that should work. Or you can use the event and block out for until a bool is true or something. So, and to show you that, let's go over here. All right, so here we have send event, step, and we have one. Which one was that? That was the front left. So front right. Oops. Getting two of them going. Let's bring in the back ones. So right, pretty much right at the beginning. Send event, step, and the back right now is somewhere around there. All right, so if I don't run this guy, if I disable that, this is kind of what I mean. You should be able to hear it. See, you can kind of get these like weird double steps and stuff. And sometimes, especially if you have turning animations as well, and you have them on there, it can get really bad, right? So if I turn this on, now the maximum is 1 every 0.1 seconds, regardless. Which is still pretty quick though. I mean, 0.1 seconds is pretty freaking fast, right? Right, so now it just kind of limits how many sounds that guy can have, right? I mean, obviously you wouldn't go with 1 second. That doesn't sound very real at all. I mean, 0.3 is not too bad. You're definitely missing some. The 0.2 is probably about as long as you want to go. You still want them fairly rapid. I mean, normally I'd probably bring this actual step sound down though. You don't need it to be so overpowering. So that's kind of one way that you can avoid those double, triple step sounds if you go that way. Right, and then the other thing you could also do, if you really wanted to, you could add in sight. Like I just have it so if we see anything, right? So, I mean, you could put, a whole bunch of things on this thing and iterate through that array and be like, oh, we see tag food, We see tag water, we see tag enemy, now we run away, or you know, we see tag food and we are hungry, let's go to that thing and eat it. So anyways, there's some AI stuff, and my laundry should be done now. So I'll talk to you guys later on.